Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome all viewers. Today we have a very exciting interview with our brother, Muhammad James. He's been very busy over the past year. Allahumma barak. We're going to go over this stack of books here that he authored, and this is long overdue. And assalamu alaikum, akhi, and jazakallah khair for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Think maybe you're getting the people's hopes up. Exciting interview.
Man, you've been busy. You've been busy. Jazakallah khair. I got this whole stack of books here. This is the most recent addition to the collection, The Believer's Handbook for Seeking Knowledge. Very beneficial. I think we'll mostly be talking about that today. But we also have, this is a series, as you can see. We have The Believer's Handbook for Ramadan. And inshallah, the hard book is going to be coming out for Ramadan soon, inshallah. We have The Bitter Truth of Free Mixing, which you also published. And then we have the Daily Hadith book. I have the soft cover and the hard cover here. So you've been very busy. And jazakumAllahukhairan to everyone who has supported Ilm Institute and, contributed to some of the programs that we've had here that, helped us do this, helped our brother Muhammad author this book. He's been very busy. So anyways, akhi, where should we start, man? Where should we start?
I guess you just start with the most recent book first, inshallah, because that's my baby. So, all the other books, I mean, obviously, the Ramadan book was something that I wrote within a 3-week span. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I wrote it in the introduction for the free mixing book. I was like maybe in 3 days. And the collection of hadith is something I was collecting over a period of time. But because it was a collection, it wasn't something like, I don't even like to take much credit for it, but it's because it's a collection of hadiths. But this book right here is, this is the one I've been working on. And I had to work on the longest. So obviously this book, a lot of work went into it, a lot of reading, rereading, chapter editing, chapter changing, even the chapter of memorization of the Quran. I wrote the whole chapter at one point and had to delete the whole entire chapter and rewrite it again because I wasn't satisfied with the way that it was going, because I felt like the way that I wrote it originally, I felt like I was putting more focus on, because my focus is always to tell the people, like, look, man, you need to understand the Quran. That's where your focus should be. Don't put so much focus on memorizing the Quran and neglect the study of the Arabic language. The studying the Arabic language so you can understand the Quran is more important than just memorizing a book that you don't understand. You understand? So for somebody to just focus on just memorizing the Quran and put all the energy into that and neglect to study the studying of the Arabic language, and that's kind of like how the chapter came out. So I felt like if I left that chapter in, I would literally demotivate the people. I would like motivate the people. They would think that I'm telling people don't memorize the Quran, but I'm not telling you that. Obviously memorize the Quran, but don't sacrifice understanding it. Like, for people that have like I guess you could say time restraints, where you don't have that much time, you have to really, really focus on the amount of time that you give each thing. Memorization of the Quran takes a long time. Reading it takes a long time. Revision of the Quran takes a long time. Studying of the Arabic language takes a long time. So you have to start to prioritize and realize what's most important for you. And the most important thing, obviously, is to understand the Quran. You understand the commands and the prohibitions in the Quran and in the Sunnah, and then you memorize. Then you start to memorize. If your time is, if you have these like time restraints, where you have like this, narrow amount of time. But obviously, if you have more time and you have the ability to study Arabic, memorize the Quran, like what we did when we were seeking knowledge, we studied Arabic and we memorized the Quran. We had that time. We had all day to do that. But not everybody is that, so I ended up having to like rewrite that chapter. And then there's like another chapter, as right when we're about to publish, like send the book to the brother to format it. And I was like, oh man, I want to add this chapter, so it's like, and then I sat there and I was supposed to finish the editing of the book that day. If I'm not mistaken. And I believe I even put it up on Telegram, like it's almost done. And then I sat down for like 3 to 5 hours. I'm not sure how long, just to write that one extra chapter in the book, and then got no editing finished, because I was too busy rereading that chapter to make sure that chapter was good to go before I went ahead and edited the rest of the book before we sent it to the brother to be formatted. So I mean, alhamdulillah, it's like most of the work it went into that book, whereas everything else it kind of like I just like with the fasting book, time was short. Obviously, if probably, I mean, honest, like now, if I had like more time to write the book, I would write it. I would expand on it more. I would have definitely included a lot more. But people got to understand that book was written like what, like 3 weeks, something like that. 3 weeks it
I know
was
you knocked it
written.
out really fast. I mean, you go into hardcore hibernation mode when you're working on these books, for hours, and you just, so if you ever see Muhammad James disappear from the Institute channel, it's not because he's not working, but he's probably writing, so yeah, man. Yeah, barakallah
Yeah, I
feek. I
mean,
mean, the work speaks
that's the
for
way it's
itself, and I
been.
encourage everyone, to order these. Inshallah, they're all available on Amazon, and hopefully, you can get them, within a few days, inshallah.
Well, the new book is it's available through Amazon and for other people. I don't know because some people talked about in their countries it's not available, but it's also available through other book providers,
Okay,
Barnes and Nobles and
I see.
other third party. The main provider is Amazon, but it's also available in other things. But I mean, I think if a person lives in a country where they can't order it on Amazon, I don't think they're gonna be able to order it on Barnes and Noble. So along with that.
Yeah, inshallah, you can check the links in the description, and hopefully, you can order a copy. And I highly recommend everyone order this book. I remember back when I got accepted to study at the Islamic University of Medina, and before I left, I was asking people for advice. And one thing that I was told was you should read as many books as you can on seeking knowledge. The etiquettes
Mm.
of seeking knowledge, so on and so forth. And at the time, I was limited. I hadn't learned Arabic yet or anything like that, so I was limited to what was available in English. And from my experience, I was not able to find a book like this. I mean, this is excellent because it's coming from the perspective of somebody who is from America, you embraced Islam, and then you went overseas to spend decades studying. So, like, I mean, you're really, it's not like a book that was originally written in Arabic by somebody from another country, and they sort of have a different experience in seeking knowledge and upbringing. But this really hit close to home, and it was very unique, I think, in that regard. So I really, really encourage everyone to read it. It's very beneficial. And inshallah, in the coming weeks, I'm also going to be posting maybe some videos, some clips, some excerpts from the book, so you can get a taste for it and people can benefit. But I definitely recommend everyone get this, inshallah.
I mean, all those books that are written on, I won't say all of them, but I mean the vast majority of them, I read them, and I never could find. There's always, there's always something missing. Although those books are highly beneficial. Like you have, like Ibn Abdul Barr's book, Jami' Bayan al-Ilmi wa Fadlihi, is a highly beneficial book. So, but how many people now you're dealing with people who they don't know Arabic, so they're not going to have access to that book anyway. So that's done for them. The same thing with like Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, where he wrote a Jami' li-Akhlaq al-Rawi wa Adab al-Sami'. How many people are going to have access to that? And then also when you take those books and you translate them, translations are most of the time they're horrible, because number one, they're just translations. They're very dry, and they don't. Most of the times, it's easier for the person just to go ahead and learn the Arabic language and read it in Arabic than to try to understand the translations, because the translations are just horrible. I mean, I sit down and try to read the translations of the books, and I know what the guy's saying in Arabic, and I don't even understand what the translation's saying. I mean, because the translation is worded in such a way that we don't even speak in the English language, especially today. And nobody says thou. It's like, so I mean, what is it? Thou hath go to the. Come on, man, stop translating. Translate it in a way that the people speak and that they can understand it. I understand what the people are trying to do. Because this is Fusha. But the thing is like you're trying to take the understanding of what you understood in Arabic and you're trying to transmit that understanding to the people. So do it in a way that they can understand it. They don't understand Shakespeare. The majority of the people they haven't read Julius Caesar. So you try to translate it like that, then how are they going to understand it? So that's not going to
Yeah.
happen. So
I mean, translating is very difficult in and of itself, but then also most people, they don't have that personal life experience of growing up in the West, embracing Islam, and then spending decades really, seeking knowledge. So we're already limited regarding how many people can even, from personal experience, write about this. And then from those few people, how many have actually written a book like this? So I think this might be the first of its kind in a way. I mean, I'm not really aware of any other books like this right
Yeah,
now, but
I'm a bit etchy to say that. So I'm like, I wouldn't go that far, but I
well,
mean, the whole point is try to compile all. I mean, all the information is available in all these different books. So like that right there is like a conglomeration, I guess you could say, of all the different books that I read and all the different experience. So yeah, I mean that in the form that it's in the way that I wrote it, yeah, of course, that's probably not going to be available in any, in any way. But there'll be another book that, have other information that I probably more than likely missed or didn't go into, more detail. Because obviously this book, the whole thing about the book was to give the person an idea, so I'm not trying to like really go into detail in any specific thing, but try to give the person an idea, like a general idea, like this is what you're going to have to do as a student of knowledge. These are the qualities that you need to have. These are the skills that you need to develop, and these are the books that you need to study. These are the books that you need to read. These are the books that you need to memorize. And just give that general idea. And obviously the person will, everything after that becomes is practical. You just got to go do it. It gets to the point where it's like, it's enough of reading about it and listening to it. You just have to go do it. So I mean that book, the book is that's what it, just like like it says on the blurb on the back of the book. It's trying to, the whole point is to like bring that motivation back to the people. To get the people to like want to go out and seek knowledge, because that it seems like that's died amongst the people. Because now they just like think like, okay, I can just turn on YouTube and see some sheikh on YouTube and sit with the sheikh on YouTube. Nah, sitting there watching the video on YouTube is never ever going to take the place of going out and travel. Like when you go and you leave your family and you leave everything and you go out and you study, you're following in the footsteps of all those great people that went before us. You're following in the footsteps, and not just the Sahaba started it. This was going on amongst the Sahaba, and then amongst the Tabi'in, and then amongst the Atba' Tabi'in, all the way up into the time of Imam Ahmed, Imam Al-Bukhari, Al-Imam Muslim, and these are the people that you want to follow. They weren't sitting around on YouTube watching this stuff. They were going out traveling to seek the knowledge, and that's where the barakah is. The barakah, the blessing of everything is in the struggle to get it. It's not about just opening up YouTube and just opening up and looking at a video at the comfort of your home. No, the barakah and the blessing, you'll find the blessing is always comes at the end of that struggle. And that's where the more you struggle for something, the more you love it, and the more it develops that drive to want to hold on to it, and keep it. But those things that you get easy, just open up YouTube or opening up, Telegram or something like that. It's not going to develop that type of love for something. You got to get out. You got to go on a journey. You read about other people's journey. Go have your own. Go do your thing. Like make your own book, make your own life, make your own. And start your own history. Start reading about other people's. So I mean, this is what I want to do. Is just to motivate the people to get back to that type of mindset, the mindset of the people of the past. And people are they're just like so stalemate. Like they just sit and they don't want to move anymore, but it's just like, that's not where it's at. It's not where it's at. That's just like, that's where regret's going to be at. But when you leave and you go out and you've achieved something, even if it's little, but alhamdulillah, it's a blessing. It's a huge blessing. And you don't want the people to miss out on that blessing. So we try to encourage as many people as we can to go out and seek that blessing,
Yeah, we live in some pretty interesting times because there was COVID and lockdown and people literally being like, locked in their houses. And with the technology, the social media, the videos and the tablets and all that. And a lot of people, so there's that sort of just, comfort of what is becoming prevalent. But then also a lot of people, they just may not know. They may have never, seen someone who can advise them, who's actually, taken on that path and that struggle of seeking knowledge. So it's very beneficial, this book, as a guide for you to share that information to, like you said, inshallah, motivate other people. Did you want to share like an excerpt or something from your book?
I mean, what I was reading actually, but right before this started, right before we started this, because sometimes I just pick the book up myself and just read, you know. So the chapter before the learning of the Arabic language, which is the chapter of the 5 elements, right? You know, so I was sitting here just reading this with my son right before we started. So the first element, of course, is reading, you know, because these 5 elements I was talking about, all of these things, they have to be present in everything that you do, you know, in every class that you take. You know, there has to be you have to read, you have to study, you have to write, you have to memorize, you have to research, you know. So all of these things, they have to be present, not specifically in that order, you know, and the order should actually be memorize, read, study, all right, write, because while you're studying, you're writing notes and you're rewriting the notes, and then you have to memorize again, and then you go back and you research, you know, or you actually, before you research, you're going to read some more, and then you start the research, you know. So what I wrote in this part, because this is the one common thing that I've always noticed is a major problem with the students of knowledge, is that people that they don't have a reading background, right? So they come to seeking knowledge, but right before they were, got motivated to seek knowledge, if you ask them like, how many books do you read in a year, they're like, no, I don't like reading. Oh, I hate reading. It's like, you know what I'm saying? But now you're a student of knowledge like that. How does that work? You know? So I wrote this chapter at the beginning addressing like that specific issue, right? Of those individuals, because I saw a lot of those individuals when I was in Damascus. People I know, because when you have a conversation with a person, you could tell by the level of how that person can converse with you. You understand how well read and how well, and when I say educated, I don't mean in the school. I don't mean in school, because we've seen people with Harvard educations and they're dumb as a doornail, you know, and they say the stupidest stuff. And subhanAllah, social media can bear witness, right? So along with time, but and I didn't mean to just specify Harvard, but anyway, so but
I think also it's worth pointing out for those who may have not seen your sort of autobiographical video, but I mean, you had a natural inclination to reading throughout your life, even when you were very young. I mean, you taken to reading much more naturally than most people. So I think your perspective on reading and being able to filter out who reads and who doesn't is that's a large part of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you're going to get information from. So I mean, just through those conversations where you could see that the person is, and I could tell, like when I'm sitting there talking to the person, I'm like, the person buying a lot of books, because why? We live in an environment where everybody talks about books, so it motivates you to buy them. But I'm like, dude, you're not reading these books, you know. And you always see like, okay, this person who's not really reading, he's not going to continue. He's not going to continue, because how can you continue, doing something that like it basically you're dedicating your life to sticking your face in a book for hours and hours and hours and hours every day. And just, 3 years ago, you're like, I hate reading, and you grew up without that type of background. So that's why, inshallah, this is just to give you the background of why I wrote this part of this chapter. I'm not going to read the entire chapter, but I just read this one, I guess, page and a half or whatever. Would that be sufficient? All right.
Sure.
So I said the first element, reading. It said, all right, I will try to be as casual about this as I can. It's casual because I'm about to say something you don't like. First of all, if you are not already a reader, do not expect to go overseas and by some miracle become one. And by already a reader, I mean that you are a person that reads around 20 to 30 books per year on average. There might be some years that you read more and others in which you read a bit less, but you will never read less than 10 books a year. And 10 books a year is really 20. You shouldn't read less than 20, but you get bad years. And it depends on what type of books you're reading, So if you're reading, like, for example, something like Sailor Gerard or Madarij al-Salikin, these are big books, these, like, if you get them all in one volume, you're not going to be reading a lot of books that year, So I would really put it at 12, 12, like to at least finish one book a month, one serious book a month. All right. And after that, I said, being able to sit down and read a book from cover to cover is an integral part of seeking knowledge. When you sit with a sheikh, He is going to help you understand the issues that you're going to be reading in the books. I would say 15% of the knowledge you get will come from the sheikh you study with and other students. Because you're going to be studying with the sheikh, but you're only going to be studying so much with the sheikh. The vast majority of the knowledge that you're going to be getting is not going to be from the sheikh that you study with. It's going to be from the other students, right? So like we study Bukhari with the sheikh, and we study Sahih Muslim with the sheikh. We study Tafsir ibn Kathir with the sheikh. But we study Kitab al-Tawheed with this student. We study Fath al-Majid with this student. We study al-Wasati with that student. You understand? So, you know, and that's another thing that people need to understand. Like, oh, I'm only going to study with the ulama. That's not really the reality. You're always going to study with the alim, and you're also going to study with the other students, because the sheikh is not going to be teaching al-Ajurumiyya. The sheikh is not going to be teaching Qatar al-Nada or, you know, Al-Fiyat ibn Malik. Not always. And you might sit with a sheikh that does. The sheikh might not be teaching al-Waraqat. And he's not. So where are you going to get these sciences from? You know, you're going to have to go travel around. So you study with the students most of the times. All right. So 15% of that knowledge that you get is going to be just from those sittings. I mean, if you're sitting with a sheikh every single day, he's only giving you a very summarized version of what he learned, what he read, what he researched, right? So he's leaving out all this other stuff that you have to now go and sift through and read, and because you might not, by the time that you read all the stuff that the sheikh read, you might not have the same opinion as him, right? You know, you might come to a different conclusion than he came to. And since you're responsible for yourself, you have to take the opinion that you feel is best. You don't just take that opinion because he's your sheikh. You take the opinion because you believe that it's closest to the evidence, right? To the most authentic evidence. Or maybe the sheikh sees a hadith as being da'if, and you don't see it as, you know, after you do research, you don't see it as being da'if. So all of that comes through the research of being in the library, not sitting in those lessons, you know. So that's why I said 15% of what you get is from the other student, from the sheikh and the other students, right? 85% of the knowledge you get will come out of the books that you read. And that's being, you know, I would really want to put it 10%, 90%, but 15, 85, I think is a good ratio. All right. If you are the type of person that says, I hate reading, I would advise you to develop a love for reading or become a farmer. Yeah, man. Farming, you know, but first you need to read about farming, you know, so you know how to like grow. But don't worry, you can watch YouTube videos along with time. And then, you know, like throughout the whole thing, because this is also talking about some of my, like the history. So like in the second part, I said you also need to set up a schedule for reading. The easiest way to do this is by allotting a time period of at least 1 hour a day that you dedicate to uninterrupted reading. There will be no compromise for this time. This is the minimum. I really want to say 2 hours, but I'm trying to have sympathy for the readers of this book. In my younger days, when I considered myself a Muslim communist, laugh all you want, I read that the Black Panther Party required all their party members to read at least 2 hours daily. This was a part of their so-called political education. I was already reading about 6 hours a day at that time. So it just gave me more motivation to continue on. And of course, this was back before I started really practicing Islam. And, you know, because I used to read a lot about the communists and how much they used to read. So I'm like, well, these communist kuffar can read like that, then we should be doubling and tripling what they were reading, right? So, and this was, you know, something that I came across a long time ago about the Black Panther Party, that they used to require each person to read at least 2 hours a day. So I'm like, look at that. I mean, look at that. You know, it's like, what excuse you have? You know, you're a Muslim. You know, how much, I mean, and you know, what's crazy is if we look at all the things that the kuffar spend their time on, right? The kuffar is spending their time going to clubs, hanging out, drinking, smoking, doing drugs, doing stupid things, watching sports, going to sports events, going to bars, going to clubs, going to restaurants, you know, messing around with girls. So since we don't do these things, right, as Muslims, so how could we ever use an excuse that we don't have any free time? Like as a Muslim, especially a Muslim living in the West, where it's like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? You go to the mall. Please, come on. You know, the mall is like death. It's a death to the heart of the believer. Are you going to go to the beach? You know, wallahi, even when I came to Jacksonville, I don't even want to talk about this, but we went to the beach at 40-degree weather, akhi, because we're like, there's no possible way. I just wanted to go see the beach. I hadn't seen the beach since the 90s in Jacksonville. 40-degree weather. we didn't go back to the beach again. Let me just say that. You know, and that's in 40-degree weather. So where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go? You know, Allahumma musta'an. So, you know, so as a Muslim, like, what excuse do you have to, like, you know, pick up a book and read? But all the time is going to what? Social media, wasting the time. You know, where is it going? You know, and Allahumma musta'an.
I mean, Akhi, mashallah, you mentioned you used to read 6 hours a day. I mean, like, you
Nah,
just
more
have
than
this
that.
more than that. See, that's why earlier I
Yeah.
was trying to say, like, you have this Allahumma barak natural inclination, like even just growing up to just loving reading. It's like I think that's pretty rare, you know. But it's good for the people to, you know, try to be motivated to increase and to reach some, you know, some of these standards, you know.
I mean, back in those days, I had a lot of free time. You know, I mean, that was,
Right.
like I said, I wasn't really practicing Islam. So what I was in the pharmaceutical business, the pharmaceutical trade, you know. So what I used to do is, like, people, they stopped needing to refill their, you know, prescriptions by like 11 o'clock. So once 11 o'clock hit, you know, because this is in the 90s, right? So we had pagers. So then I would just shut the pager off. And I put the pager down, and that's it. I wouldn't return any calls. I wouldn't listen. You know, that was it. 11 o'clock, that was my cutoff time. And then I would sit on the couch and I would read until my mother got up and to go to work the next day. When she got up to go to work, she would see me on the couch reading, and I look at her, like, huh, time to go to bed. You know, then I would just sleep until dhuhr. You know, so yeah, I mean, that was a whole different life. But yeah, just reading.
Did you have any friends that used to read like that? Because I mean, that's just you know, I mean, it's good to push the people to want to reach that level and really focus on reading, Akhi, but I don't know if you realize how rare that is, man. Like, people don't really read like that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, in Damaj, yes.
Yeah, I mean, of course, amongst students of
Yeah.
knowledge, that's different. But I mean, just
Oh no, don't even get that twisted to think like students of knowledge are all readers.
right. So, well, that further proves my point. Like, if even students of knowledge who, you know, might even have traveled and really want the knowledge, even they still struggle to have that sort of just natural inclination of loving to read. I mean, then imagine people who are just, you know, not even concerned.
I mean, that's rare nowadays. And even the people that do read, you know, what do they read? Just like I mentioned in the same chapter, but I just didn't finish that part. Was that, you know, you have to separate like what type of reading that you're going to be doing from the type of reading that people normally do. See, when I was young, I never read non-fiction, like fiction. Sorry, you know, just Stephen King type stuff. You know, I read that later. You know, when I started to want to get into writing, then I would read because I liked the style of writing. But when I was young, I only read like nonfiction, only historical stuff, because I was real big into like you know, communism, revolution, and all this type of stuff. So I read whatever, you know. I had like, you know, I would go to the used bookstore and I was buying Mao Zedong's selected works volume by volume, you know, and Karl Marx and all this foolishness that we used to read. So, but nobody around me, no, not in those days. No, I mean, I used to, like, people would come over to my house and I would just grab them. I just want to talk, right? I start saying, man, do you know about the Cuban Revolution? Huh? You hear about this? I said, let me break this down to you. He's like, man, just give me what I came over here for, man. Like, let me go. Like, you're holding me captive, man, you know? So even like my sister, she'd come down from, because she studied in the University of Florida, right? And all of her friends also with her. You know, they all went to high school together and they all went to the same university. So the same thing, she'd come down on the weekend sometimes with her friends. And then, you know, I grab one of her friends and I sit her down on the couch, be like, tell me what you learned. Tell me what they're teaching you. And she's like, well, we studied this. I said, I don't care about what you're studying. Tell me what you learned. You understand? All that studying garbage, that's foolishness. That's for a test. Tell me what you learned. What have you learned? She's like, I don't know. I don't know what I've learned. You don't know what you learned. What are you paying all this money to go to college for? You know, so I used to just attack him, man. I used to attack him. I said, see, that's why. It was like, you know, and I used to laugh at him. I was like, look at this. I'm a high school dropout. And you're having this, and who's telling you this information? You know, and you're going to college paying all this money. You know, I'm getting that education in the books. I don't have to pay all that money for, you know, for that type of education. You're not even learning anything. So used to always just sit down. I would be trying to find those types of people. you know, that just like read. I didn't find a person like that until I met Fareed, you know. But see, the thing about people that love to read is, you know, we don't like to, like, how can I say this? We don't like to be around people a lot, you know. So that's the whole thing. So you're not gonna just hang out with a guy that likes to read a lot because that person doesn't want to hang out with you. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't want, you know what I'm saying? So I can sit down with brothers and chill out. It's no problem. But it's just like after like an hour, 2 hours, I start to feel heaviness, you know, like, and back in those days I was more blunt about it. I'm like, yeah, get up out my house. I gotta read. Yeah, leave. You know, just leave. You know. But I mean obviously now I'm more diplomatic, but you know, but yeah, almost done. Like there's so many times I just like if I had a good book, I don't even want to go out. I don't even want to go out. I just want to stay home and read. And then everybody get angry, like, wow, come on, we're ready to go. Go. Y'all don't need me. Go. Stay home and read the book. You go have fun. You know. Yeah, it's not common nowadays, you know. Especially now, not with the phones and
Yeah, I
the
mean,
internet.
yeah, just unlimited. I mean, I know growing up, music was a huge thing. That would just, just listen to music all the time, watch TV, and now it's like it's an unlimited, nonstop supply with the internet. So, may Allah make it easy for us and, put that love for reading beneficial things in our hearts.
Yeah,
And inshallah, check out this book. Hopefully it will, motivate you and give you a direction as well on what to study, how to study. And,
or at least advise you to become a farmer.
right, or completely,
one of the two, you know.
Completely discourage you. Yeah, subhanAllah, it is, it is important for people to understand what they're getting themselves into because, I mean, I definitely saw it in Medina. Medina, it was well known when I first arrived there that a lot of people, they would come and they would have this romanticized view of what it's like studying there and being in Medina and being a student of knowledge. But like you said, I mean, a lot of it is reading and sitting down and memorizing and just putting in work. And there's nothing romantic about that unless like you already have that inclination, or at least you're willing to just like force yourself. Right. And if you're not willing to do that, then, I mean, a lot of people just leave as a result and say, seeking knowledge isn't for me. So,
yeah, because I mean, if you don't like books, seeking knowledge is a boring life, you know. You sit down and you're reading the same stuff over and over and over and over again. You know, you finish the book, you read it again. You finish it, you read it again. You finish it, you read it again. Why? Because you memorize something, you don't want to forget it. And so, why? If you were to make like a documentary about the life of a student of knowledge, that wallahi, it would be the most boring documentary ever. I mean, if you had to just look at what, like, just a person in the library, I mean, just to give you an image of like, for example, like the sheikh, because I used to always like to go to the library and I would sit at the table, I would grab whatever book, whatever, just like whatever I wanted to read. Or maybe I was just writing down notes or whatever from a class I was taking, but I would go to the library and do it. And I would sit in a way where the sheikh was like right in front of me, right? Where every time that I looked up, I saw him. And for like hours, and I mean hours, akhi, he would sit there without moving. He has like stacks of books, and he's got like, maybe 4 or 5 books stacked up over here, 4 or 5 books stacked up over here. He's got 5 books open to pages, and he's reading. He starts from the right? So he reads, goes to the next book, he reads, goes to the next book, he reads, and then he'll write whatever he needs to write down. And then, maybe he'll pull off another book or whatever. If he's doing this, like, between the salawat, like, right, he'll do this from Asr all the way up until Maghrib every day, right? And as soon as they call the adhan, like it's getting close to the, adhan for Maghrib, the sheikh will go and he'll pick up the books and he'll put every book back to where he got it from. Even though he's coming right back after Isha, right? He's going to come right back to the same spot, grab the same books after Salat al-Isha. And all he needs to do is just leave the books there and he'll come back to the same spot, but he won't do that. He will go and he'll put every single book back to the exact place he got it. Come back after Salat, after Salat al-Isha, because there's a class. He teaches Sahih Muslim. He used to. Well, I think he might still. I don't know if he's teaching them right now between Maghrib and Isha and Hadramaut. But and then he'll go teach the class in Sahih Muslim and the other classes, right, that he teaches between Maghrib and Isha, pray, go right to the maktaba and pull the same books back off the shelves, and he'll stay like that until whenever, the electricity goes out. So because the only place that we had electricity was around the masjid, because they had a big motor, like a big generator, which is like a generator from like World War I or something like that. It was the oldest generator that I've ever seen in my life. I don't even know how this thing only worked with the blessing of Allah. Only. Wallahi, I don't understand how this thing worked. It's the oldest thing that I've ever seen. That generator, and I don't know, like my grandmother or something, like those are the two oldest things. I don't know which is older, but somehow this thing worked. It was brown from rust. Like I said, it smoked when they ran it, when they pumped it, like got it going, and then it's just but like after Isha, like the electricity will stay on for like a little bit, and then it cuts off. They cut it off because that generator can't. They have to give it some rest, right? And then they have to turn on the gas lamps. So we're just like everybody sitting in the library, reading by gas, like these little lamps, like these little little like camping lamps, right? And the sheikh just sitting there doing the same thing for hours and hours and hours. Sometimes we would go there and sit in the library some nights. Now, I'm not saying he does this like every night. We would sit there until like 11 o'clock. Maybe take like a Siyar A'lam Nubala, take a volume off and just read. Me and another brother, he's reading one, I'm reading another person. He's reading about the life of one of the Salaf, I'm reading about the life of another. And then we could just like meet up after we get done and just talk about what we read. And the sheikh's just sitting there the whole time for like 3-4 hours straight. Hasn't moved. He's just flipping pages, writing, flipping pages, writing. And he's in Jannah, you know what I'm saying? Like when you look out, you look from outside, you're like, this is like I said, if you were to make a documentary out of that, it'd be the most boring documentary ever. Nobody would watch it. You'd probably get 2 views on YouTube for this, and probably no likes. Because it's just going to be a man sitting there reading a book and writing notes and revising. There's nothing to it, right? It's nothing like spectacular. There's no, what I'm saying? It's the whole romantic, how do you say it, like this, to make like this like romantic, like this dramatic or something image in your mind. It doesn't exist. It's just, it's hard work. But for him, the sheikh, he's in Jannah. That's his Jannah. That's what he waits for. This is what he's trying to get the class, get all that stuff out the way so he can get back to those books. That's his Jannah. You can see it. Like he doesn't want to be anyplace else. This is where he wants to be. This is like what his life's about. So I mean, those are the people. That's and that's what I'm also saying about the whole YouTube thing. If you're just watching videos on YouTube, you're not seeing that. Like we watched that. We watched that. We saw it. We actually saw this in real time. This man doing it on a daily basis. So it's like we know what he's about. We sat there. I watched him in the masjid after Salat al-Fajr, sit there and read 5 juz from the Quran every single day. Then I watched him for hours and hours, and I watched him for hours in the library, just flipping pages, and never, wallahi, never talked to nobody. Nobody would even go talk to the sheikh when he's in the library. Nobody. That'd be the dumbest thing that you could ever do. Not that he would be rude or anything, but it's just everybody knows. It's like almost like it's like a protection, like a boundary around him. Like nobody would talk to him. He's in his own world. When he's out on the street, when he walks from the masjid to his house and everything, everybody's like, shake. I got a question. And the man can't even do the adhkar after Fajr. As soon as Fajr ends, he's trying to do his adhkar. Shake. What do you say about this? I passed gas when I was in Salat. What do I have to do? Just stupid questions, right? So, and this is what he gets all the time. But when he's in the library, nobody bothers him. Nobody. He's in his own world. And I don't even think he'd hear you. Honestly, I don't even think if you spoke to him, he'd probably even hear you. But that's his Jannah, But that's just the reality. That's what... that's what people need to understand. That's the life that that's the life of a student of knowledge. And then of course you have other things that, people insulting you, people attacking you, people spreading lies about you, people causing problems for you. You got the jealousy, you got the hatred, You got all of these types of things, you know, that you're going to have to deal with, that, you know, all the ulama have to deal with on a daily basis, you know. So there's so much that goes into it that you have to understand, like, you know, are you ready for that? You know, is that something that you're willing to undertake? Because a lot of people, they fold. I mean, and the thing is, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how strong you are. You know, this is the catch, right? You could be the strongest person in the world, you know, but if Allah does not keep you strong in that fitna, does not give you the strength to be strong in that fitna, you're done. You're done. You understand? So just because you're strong, like you go out to the streets and you can fight whoever, you're not scared of nobody. That doesn't mean that you won't fold when the people start attacking you like that, or, you know, everybody turns against you. So the only one that can give you that strength is Allah. And then you have to make sure that you're doing the things that are pleasing to Allah and doing things that are getting you closer to Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you that strength when you need it, because otherwise you're not going to have it. So it's not about, like, you know, all these people like, oh, you know, al-mu'min al-qawi khayran wa habbu ila Allah min al-mu'min al-da'if, and he's doing like 20 pull-ups. Nah, that's not what the hadith means. You know, that mu'min al-qawi is a qawi bi imanihi. You know, in his actions, is he's disciplining himself every single day to do the things that he has to do to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, to do the actions that are pleasing to Allah. And those are the people, when that fitna comes, when those hard times come, and when those difficulties come, those are the people that Allah protects. And those are the people that Allah gives the strength to. And those are the people that stand up. And all those other people, you know, the 20 pull-ups and the 1,000 burpee guy, he's running away. He's nowhere to be found, right? Because it's not about that, you know. And that man who's sitting in the library, wallahi, you know, you see this man sitting in the library, his face is in books, you know, all these hours every single day. When the Houthis attacked the match, he was one of the bravest of all the people. The sheikh ran in his house, grabbed his gun. They're shooting him, trying to bomb his house. And that man was one of the bravest people. And those students that had their faces in the books that were the brave, those dudes, you know, oh, I could do this, I'm gonna do this, I'll fight in the streets. Where were they? A lot of those guys that, you know, you don't know where to be found. So, you know, it's not about that. You know, it's about, you know, just, you know, alhamdulillah, man. That's what I advise the people. One, make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into, number one. And number two, just, I mean, you got to do a lot of isti'ana. I mean, a lot of isti'ana billah, because, I mean, the only one that can give you the strength to keep doing, like the sheikh, you know, him doing what he's doing on a regular basis, Allah gave him that. Allah gave him that strength. Allah gave him that love and desire for that. And he shows the shukr, you know, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by taking what he's learning and teaching the people and helping the people to, you know, stay in the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's how he's thinking Allah, that's his form of what? Of shukr, you know. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said with ta'adhana rabbukum la in shakaratum. What? La azidannakum. All right. Wa la in kafartum inna adhabi la shadid. So, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you show that gratitude, if you show, you know, the gratitude, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase you. So this man, he's trying to show his gratitude of what? Knowledge. Taking that knowledge and teaching the people and living it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases him, you know, and increases him and increases him. That's what that life's about, you know. All of us, we're like, you know, we're not on that level. We probably never will be. You know, we can only dream about it, you know, when we close our eyes, but when we wake up, reality strikes again, you know. But you know, we could all, you know, but we all have to work to achieve some type of level, you know, because we all can offer something. You know, we might not reach that type of level, but I mean, alhamdulillah, everybody that chooses that path, everybody's gonna achieve something. You know, they're gonna hit some level, you know, something, some type of benefit, inshallah. And as long as you're like in that path of knowledge, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts blessing in that. As long as you're trying to do it for the right reasons, you know, for the right reason, you know, with ikhlas, with taqwa, you're trying to get the people to come back to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not doing this because you want the people to know you. You're not doing this because you're trying to get something from the dunya, status or whatever. I don't know why you would be getting, like, especially in this day and age, seeking knowledge is not going to give you status. So, you know, that you can go ahead and kiss that one goodbye anyways, because I guess we kiss you goodbye because you just left it.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, sorry about those technical difficulties, but Well,
Oh,
jazakallah khair. Everyone, please check out the book. Check the links in the description and order it if you can. And you have some other things going on as well. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about this trip you have coming up, inshallah.
yeah, inshallah, like later this week, me and the kids we're gonna go on a cross country journey to California. So out to visit the brothers out in Fresno. So looking forward to this. You know, they invited one of the brothers. He contacted me, a brother named Salahuddin, very nice brother. Allah yubarak fi. He contacted me and told me come out there and visit them. So alhamdulillah, we've been planning this for like I guess maybe the last 2 months or so, but it finally happened because obviously we started talking around like late November. So with all the kuffar holidays, it was kind of hard to like okay, hop on a bus because I don't like to fly. If it's if it's in the country and I can drive there, I drive there. And plus it's kind of funny because I was joking with my kids before we left Saudi. I said, "Don't worry, kids. Say inshallah, if everything works out in America, y'all gonna see all of America. We're gonna be going from state to state to state to state. So this is that opportunity to fulfill that promise to them. So now they're gonna literally 3 days of travel. They're gonna get to see a lot of America. So a long time, but inshallah, I'll be out there for like about a week. So inshallah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I
alhamdulillah. You also have
don't
more
know.
books that you're working on as well. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, right?
I mean, there's one major book like right now. It's for the Ramadan. So this is the major book that will probably come out soon, because obviously Ramadan is right around the corner. So this book, I don't really want to go into a lot of details about it right now, but for now, inshallah. But as it gets closer and closer, generally what I'll do is like a lot of the times on Telegram, I like sit there and just throw excerpts from the book out on Telegram. Just like little random, shots in the dark type stuff, and just to get the give the people an idea of like what the book's gonna look like. But this book is inshallah, it's gonna be kind of like a companion to the first book because when I was in Yemen, every year for Ramadan there was always a book that I would read before Ramadan, and there was a book that I would read during Ramadan. I mean, other than the Quran, obviously, because whenever Ramadan came around, it's just like everything shut off. No classes, no studying. Everything was just focused on just the Quran. That was it. But generally what I would do is like there was always a book like I would always go revise like the ahkam, go over like either at that time like a long time ago it was Umdat al-Ahkam. I mean now it's more like Bulugh al-Maram, like I would go and revise like Kitab al-Siyam from Bulugh al-Maram, sit down and read and go through all the ahkam again just to revise everything. So that's why like for example like a book like the book on fasting, that's the reason why I was alhamdulillah, first off it's a blessing from Allah, and then after that I mean there's like from the reasons in the dunya, the reason why I was able to read write that book in 3 weeks was because of that. Every single year before Ramadan I would go and revise all the ahkam of fasting, not just fasting but fasting qiyam al-layl, and so basically like to make this short, like right, you have the book with the rules and regulations of fasting to read before Ramadan, and this book that I'm writing right now inshallah is something that you can read daily throughout Ramadan. So it's going to be like one of those more motivational hit the heart type books, something that you could read like every day, whereas this one you read before and this one you read during. So this way they work as like a sort of like I guess like a companion to each other.
Jazakallah khair, and we'll keep everyone updated. If you're not already following Institute, then there's ilmstitute.com. There's Institute Academy. All these books have been published under Institute Academy. Muhammad James is teaching Arabic on Institute Academy. I have courses, and we're going to be a lot more active on Institute, inshallah, with articles, with videos, and things like that. So thank you so much, Akhi. Jazakallah khair, and I'll give you the last word, inshallah.
I mean, my last word is always the same. We all just get to work. We all need to get to work. Like right now, especially with Ramadan coming up, and as believers, we always like to plan our year from Ramadan to Ramadan. So now you need to start like right now, looking back, looking at yourself, looking at the year, looking at what you achieved. Like what have you done from the last Ramadan to this Ramadan? and then start to like think of the things that you're trying to achieve. Like right now, we're coming on some very, very difficult times. Very, very difficult times. Use the time that you have right now of peace and tranquility to get as much done as you can. Because wallahi, I'm telling you, when all that war and all those problems start, this is very hard to study and it's very hard to benefit and do anything in war. And that's just the reality. Is you have this time of peace, you have this time, utilize it. Don't waste this time.